Stan's have it for us, Sam. All right. And now New Jersey Congressman Josh Gottheimer is joining us. He's a Democrat who serves on the House Intelligence Committee. Congressman, I know you've been asking questions. You were briefed by the FBI and Department of Homeland Security. Your committee was. So do they really have no idea what's going on?
Well, listen, based on what I've seen, and thanks for having me, there's no reason in my mind, based on what they've analyzed, that there's any credible threats to public safety at this time. And that I feel good about based on what the FBI has briefed me on. That said, the hundreds of sightings or more that we've received in New Jersey, the phone calls I've received, the images, Andy Kim, who's a senator now in New Jersey, said that he has seen them himself. He just posted something about that, right? So clearly there's something going on out there. And what's driving me crazy, and I think a lot of my colleagues in the state government and, of course, federally, is that the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security, who are chiefly responsible for monitoring and being aware of what's up in the skies, is not giving us a public briefing, giving us enough information, telling us exactly where these drones are coming from, who's sending them up. You know, are they all unlicensed and unregistered? What are they? And I think people deserve to know, which is why, of course, when you don't have any information, people get rightly anxious about it and say, what's going on out here? Give me some information. And so I've called on the FBI to immediately, with DHS, brief the country, brief New Jersey, what's going on, make public what they know, and of course ensure that state and local law enforcement have the tools they need from a monitoring perspective. And if necessary, if these drones are going over military bases like they have been reported in New Jersey, or over critical infrastructure like reservoirs or national security sites or other law enforcement sites, that law enforcement has the tools to take out and take down these drones. Are you surprised that the law enforcement agencies like the FBI, like DHS, like the Pentagon, that have all come out and tried to say nothing to worry about? I'm paraphrasing that. I think their direct words were there's no national security or public safety threat, no evidence of that threat, and that there's no evidence of a nexus to some kind of like foreign impetus or influence in this. I mean, are you surprised, though, that they can't say this is what's happening? This is what they don't. Do they not have the answers? Well, that's why they should be out briefing. I mean, listen, I think it's one thing to analyze, and obviously we have systems to be able to analyze what if there's imminent threats from drones, where are they coming from overseas? Are there any threats of that nature, right? And that's one thing. And the Department of Defense and Homeland and others have briefed on that and said we're not concerned that that's what it is. But they're not going for, to your point, but they're not taking the next step and saying, what exactly are all these drones? What's going on? Where are they coming from? What should we be worried about, if anything, long term? And that's what I've called on them to do, to come clean, come forward, tell the public. That's their responsibility. It's their job. And secondly, listen, I've introduced legislation to this effect. We want to make sure that you don't have drones flying over any place they shouldn't be. This can't be the Wild West when it comes to drones, right? Whether that's in New Jersey or anywhere. People shouldn't have to worry. We shouldn't do anything to threaten public safety or our infrastructure, our airports, right? Anywhere where you might obviously be concerned, there should not be any drone activity, right? There should be no drones over military bases. And we know that there's been 11 sightings over Picatinny, which is a base that we have here in New Jersey, right? That if that's true, and the Army raised this issue, then of course that shouldn't be allowed. There should be laws in place that say if you're going to fly a drone unlicensed and unregistered over these places, you should go to jail for it. You can't do that and threaten our public safety, our national security, or of course, have people rightly anxious about what's going on in the air. Again, people thinking, what are these? Who's behind them? What's the intention? We did hear in Sam's reporting from the former head of the FBI's counter-drone unit who says he suspects a large percentage of these sightings are actually manned aircraft. Do you have reason to believe they're not? Well, listen, I think there's a lot of reporting coming in, right? I don't have access to all the reports that are going on. As was mentioned the other day, there was more than 50 in one day, right? So there's a lot coming in, some to the FBI, some to state police and local law enforcement. So I'm sure some of these are manned aircraft, right? The question is, are some of them not? And based on some of my colleagues and what the state police has told others, that they've seen these drones. So we know they're out there. And we just want to make sure it'd be good to know where they're coming from if they're unlicensed and unregistered, right? And I think we have a responsibility to give law enforcement the tools. If the FBI is not going to do it, somebody should be doing this and making sure we know what's up in the air and ensuring that it's not over places that put anyone in danger or threat. and that we understand where they're coming from. That's not a lot to ask. We certainly have the equipment and technology to do it. So now let's do it, and let's tell the public what we're doing, not these random statements. Let the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, come out and do a proper public briefing on this. They should do that today.
Quickly, if you will, what's your message to your constituents who might be on edge right now? If they, look up tonight and see a drone, what should they do?
Like to listen, based on the information that I've received, and I feel good about that, the briefings that I've received from the FBI and Homeland and the governor and others, I strongly believe that no one's public safety is at risk, right? That at this time, there's no threats to public safety. But I'll reiterate to them again, I understand why you want answers. And I think the federal government, the FBI and Homeland Security owe those answers. And that's my message. Don't worry, right? But let's make sure that we get the answers of what this is. And of course, long term, that law enforcement and others have the tools they need, the resources they need to monitor. And if necessary, if drones are flying in places they shouldn't be, right, to be able to take them out of the air.
Congressman Josh Gottheimer, thank you very much for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
Up next, a quote, blunt force pressure strategy. We have new reports.